All right. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Having a great New Year's. I think we'll release this later, but we can celebrate the New Year, I guess, together today.
That's
Um,
right.
but Jason, thank you so much for joining us for kind of our spring installment of just celebrating and highlighting HST students. I think you are. I've been trying to, keep these kind of diverse in where people are living or what they're doing. And we've had some Cersei in Arkansas folk, but I think you're our first teacher and professor that we've had.
Oh,
So
all
you'll
right.
give a great, unique perspective on things. Um, so just to start off, Jason, we'd love to hear kind of like where you're living, what you're doing, a bit about your family, kind of what you think would be interesting to share with us.
Yeah, cool, cool. So yes, like you said, we are in Searcy, Arkansas. We've been here for about a year and a half now, year and a half, and prior to Searcy, we spent about 2 years in Savannah, and before that, about 15 years in California. So we are Californians. We are transplants to the South. And before Harding, I was preaching. So I was a full-time minister. So my wife is a nurse practitioner. She is the director of the Student Health Center here at Harding.
Oh, okay.
And she teaches, and then I have two daughters. They both attend the academy. So my daughter just got her driver's license yesterday.
Oh, fun stuff.
Pray for us, right? So that's my oldest, Layla, and then my younger daughter, Isabella, is 14, and they are amazing, amazing. So that's a little bit about my family. We got a big dog. We got an English Mastiff.
Oh, there you go.
Pounds, so she's bigger than us. But other than that, yeah, we're living the dream. Cersei has been a blessing. We do miss the city life. We're city folk, but the slower pace here has been good. It has been good just to kind of slow down and so the teaching aspect here in Cersei is what keeps us energized and busy. There's something to being around freshmen in particular, college students. They energize you, but in particular freshmen. They have a way of bringing out the best in you. They ask a lot of good questions because they're still growing in a lot of ways in their faith, in their walk. So it's been really neat. We enjoy it. So
That's great. That's really cool. And correct me if I'm wrong, but do you also serve as a chaplain?
yeah. So that's the other other job that I have. I'm a Army Reserve chaplain. So I've been in the Army for 22 years, coming up on 23 this year. So I joined when I was 17, and I started as an infantry soldier, like most soldiers do, and then went to ROTC and got my commission. And so my unit is still in California, so I hop on the plane once a month and fly out to the Bay Area. And do my military training out there. So basically, as a chaplain, all I am is a preacher to soldiers. So just think about what I tell people is think about being a preacher of a congregation. Mine is a congregation of about 1,500 soldiers, which is neat. I've got some chaplains, some younger chaplains that work underneath me, and I kind of mentor and supervise them. But we have pastoral responsibilities over 1,500. So it's a neat work. I enjoy it.
So how long have you been? You mentioned you started off as a soldier. When did you transition into?
I think so. I got my commission. So I was at Harding. I graduated from Harding in 2005. We didn't have an ROTC program at Harding then, so I had to cross enroll at the University of Central Arkansas. So I got my commission in 2005. And then I would say probably in 2010 is when I actually became a chaplain. I had to go to chaplain training. So for about 5 years, I was doing other officer work. I was in the transportation corps. And then in 2010, I got my endorsement and assessed is what we call it as a chaplain. So
that is really interesting. Wearing a lot of different hats. I love it.
Yeah.
So kind of part of this little conversation we're having just to get to know HST students. So you are a professor at Harding undergrad, but also taking courses at Harding School of Theology. So we'd love to hear kind of, and I'm sure part of that journey is teaching at Harding, but we would love to just hear kind of your journey to HST, and maybe kind of where you are in the program and something you enjoy about it.
So I'm a Fuller guy because I'm from California. So I did my master's work at Fuller, and then I started my doctoral work at Fuller as well. So when we moved to Arkansas, the plan was to continue on at Fuller out in Pasadena. But the journey, the commute, getting back and forth is kind of tough. You know, they had some online options, but for a lot of the coursework, you actually had to be in Pasadena. So that was already problematic. So I was thinking, you know what, I probably need to rethink some things. And I found out that as a professor at Harding, you can take classes at HST for absolutely nothing. So that was super appealing. I said, free doctorate, you know, we'll take it. So I went ahead and applied and got accepted. And so I am in, I guess my first year is coming to a close. So I'm heading into my second year now. So I think I've had about 3 or 4 classes, including Fuller's coursework. So that's my journey to HST. And surprisingly, what I have found is HST is a top level, I shouldn't say surprisingly, because there's some amazing professors there. But when I compare my coursework at Fuller to HST is tough. It's really tough. I'm thinking, man, I didn't know I was getting into this, but HST has been tough. We've got some top-notch professors, and I've been stretched tremendously HST. So it's been a neat journey. The coursework comes in waves and it doesn't seem to stop, right? So, you know, it's like class after class, you got to stay on top of it, bunch of writing, bunch of reading, but it's been really good. It's been really good. So that's my journey to HSC. And what's cool is my supervisor, the dean, Dr. Cox, is super encouraging. You know, they tell me to bang it out, keep working it out. They're a little flexible with me, and also the professors at HST have been pretty flexible working with me, knowing that you know, I teach full time, and it's hard to take a week off, you know, in the middle of the semester to do classes stuff like that. So they've been very accommodating, and in some ways they've kind of worked the schedule around my schedule, which has been really, really awesome. So I'm very thankful for that. So.
Yeah, and that's really encouraging to hear. I think you know, people who might be interested in HST, just because it is so flexible with it. You know, you get to know all of your professors really well, and I hear that all the time. You know, ministry gets really busy sometimes, and I think HST gives the grace when it's like, hey, you had a big emergency come up, we'll work with you on that, and it's not a problem.
You know, the other thing I failed to mention, so I do wear 3 hats. I should have mentioned this too, because I got to give a shout out to the church that I work with. I preach at a church too.
Wow.
So the West Pleasure Church of Christ, right?
Do you have more hours in the day than I do?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, right? It's yeah. Anyway, so it's a great church, and you know, I've been working with them since I've been here as well. So with those 3 ministry buckets, HST has really helped me learn some things in each one of those buckets, right? Like as a professor, I've learned a lot from HST. As a soldier who's leading soldiers, I've learned a lot. And then, you know, serving in ministry at a local church, that's the bread and butter of what we learn at HST. So, so the journey has been phenomenal, and I've added more tools to my tool belt in each one of those buckets of ministry. So.
That's really cool to hear. Thanks for sharing that. So kind of our last big question, and then we always end with kind of a speed round of fun, more lighthearted questions. But what, you know, maybe reflecting back on COVID 2020, but also just in your experience of life, what have you found helps you stay spiritually healthy as a husband, father, minister, chaplain? What have you found to be most helpful in staying spiritually healthy?
Yeah. So I think all preachers know this, and people who are involved in ministry, you learn a lot while you're teaching others.
Mm.
So first of all, going back and having to teach B New 1010, the life and teachings of Christ, just prepping for that class alone has done so much for my faith journey, because you pick up little things that you didn't consider before. And that has re-energized my faith. It's challenged me. My faith has been deconstructed by some of these freshmen who have some really important questions about faith and their belief in Jesus. So it's caused me to kind of reevaluate my own faith journey and really solidify what I believe, so I can teach it with confidence. So that's one piece that has kept me spiritually grounded. I'm always in the Word, always discovering stuff that I haven't seen before. There's something about being around soldiers as well, who where I serve, a lot of my soldiers are agnostic, come from different faith traditions, and or are loosely Catholic and sometimey Protestant, right? So I find myself in a context that is completely separate from these folk here, these students here that grew up in church, right? So there's an evangelistic spirit that I have as well, and I get super energized when I'm around people who are not believers or really struggling to even believe, and being able to speak truth to them always is a blessing. It's awesome to see people's light bulbs go off when they question the very existence of a creator. So that keeps me energized. And then sermon prep as well always does it for me. So I've gotten into a habit of every day, and I don't know how many people do this, and it may seem silly, but every single day, I have the YouVerse Bible app on my phone, and I love every morning or every day that there's a verse of the day. So I find myself every morning just opening up my phone and looking at one verse, and they just give you one verse, right? And because it's just one verse, it gives you time to marinate on it. So every morning I'll get up and I'll just read the verse of the day, and I'll just kind of sit with it. And that really energizes me as well. And actually that's how I've been preaching on Sundays. I'll get up in the morning and I'll kind of sit with that verse, and I'll construct my sermons, because I don't have time during the week like a lot of preachers do to just kind of sit and prepare sermons, right? So it's like a wave that happens, and it keeps happening, and I've always got to create new stuff. So just sitting with the Word through that app has really helped me in my journey. So those are some of the things that help keep me spiritually grounded. And then, having teenagers, you've got to rely on the Lord big time. Teenage daughters, I need the Lord's help every day, So those are a few things.
Yeah, and I think those are really great, especially the YouVersion thing. People might look at that however they will, but it's I found it's the little things that can be most impactful when they're consistent and you learn to lean on them. God is immense and infinite, and he can do a lot with just a little.
Yeah.
A good reminder. And man, what you said about the soldiers and just being around people who don't know or who question the creator, I think is so refreshing and so needed as ministers, because I think we might not like to admit it, but I'm sure we have members in our churches who have the same questions and just don't have the space to share that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that gives us ears that might be more attuned to those questions in our own congregations at times.
There's something, because I dread getting on the plane. Like I got to fly, and I'm tired. And we get up super early on battle assembly weekends is what we call them. And we do PT, and I'm just worn out. I'm grumpy, but then there's something about just being around people who aren't believers that allows your light to really shine. Your light shines in the darkest of places. And, sometimes you get a little jaded being around people who grew up in church and know the Bible but when you're around non-Christians, man, there's something about it. It is so awesome. So awesome. And then I like what you said about the, just kind of the Bible app, the verse of the day, in HST. And for those of us who are involved in theological studies, we really dig deep into the scripture, and we're always exegeting it and questioning and looking at the science of hermeneutics and getting down every single word and studying Greek and stuff like that. And sometimes just devotional reading, does a lot. And I don't know what it is. We get a lot from our intense study for sure, but just devotional reading from time to time is so refreshing, right? It's like put away the books and the commentaries and the Greek and just read a verse and let it work on you. So,
right, that's good, man. Okay, so now we're here for the fun part. I'm going to go through just first thing that comes to mind. We'll kind of work. This is just another fun way to get to know you. So, if you could eat dinner with one person from the Bible, who would that be in one sentence? Why?
Ooh, of course, everybody would. The stock answer is Jesus, right?
Yeah. Not including Jesus.
So I'm going to go with Peter. And the reason why I'll go with Peter is because he puts his foot in his mouth all the time, right? And I would question, man, why would you do some of those things, right? You seem very presumptuous. What was going on in your mind to cause you to act or to think that way? And then I would also question, man, how is it being the leader of the church, the movement, right? Jesus is gone, and now you are the rock, and you are placed in charge. Let me know what that is like, and how do you navigate some of that stuff? So Peter would be an interesting character for me to sit down with and talk to. So
yeah, that's right. That's good. What has been maybe your favorite book you've read this past year?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be school related. Anything's on the table.
The Letters to Pergamum is a very interesting book. It's kind of like a fiction writing that just kind of takes us back to the first century. So that was an interesting read. Let's see, The Letters to the Lost Disciples. Someone gave me a copy of that one, and it just kind of talks about Joseph leaves the picture completely in the life of Jesus, right? Like in his very formative years, we don't know what happened to him, and he's just gone. And this book that I got is another kind of novel book that just kind of talks about some of the things that might have happened to Jesus, like Joseph of Arimathea. For some reason, it says in this book, and of course it's a fictional writing, but it's like maybe Joseph of Arimathea kind of took Jesus and mentored him. And so that was a really interesting thing. And I still wrestle with all the nuances of Jesus not having a father figure in a lot of ways and the implications of that. So there's a lot. That's two big ones. Yeah, there's more. I could go on, but those are
good. Yeah,
that's interesting. So
yeah, Jesus was so, and it's supposed to be a speed round, but that's so interesting because Jesus was so intimately connected with Father in heaven.
Right.
Where was his earthly father?
Where's Joseph? He gets the short end of the stick, right? It's like, man, what happened to him?
That's right. Okay, next question. Favorite movie of all time?
Oh man, this is tough. Oh, what I used to tell people is Glory with Denzel Washington.
Oh
Yeah. So the 54th, I love that movie. So I would say anything with Denzel Washington in it is a favorite movie of mine. I love Malcolm X. I love Remember the Titans.
That's right.
And I like Tom Hanks a lot too. So any movie with Denzel, Tom Hanks. But I would say, I guess it's Glory still. I love Glory.
Yeah. Those two are hard to beat. That's a pretty good combination. Okay, what is a hobby that you have, not related with theology, school, teaching, preaching, something that maybe helps you decompress from all those other things?
Yeah, so I'm involved in the hip hop scene. I've been recording and performing hip hop for probably about 6 or 7 years now. So there's a record label that I'm involved with called Caruso Music, and it's based out of Oakland. So I met some guys in Oakland, and they were heavily involved in the hip hop scene. And I told them I kind of rapped a little bit, and I gave them a little quick audition, and they were surprised. So I've been dabbling in the music scene for a long time now. So we've gotten to do shows. I performed at South by Southwest in Austin.
Yeah.
Met Snoop Dogg. I met a bunch of people, and it's a hobby that I enjoy. So I still stay involved with creating music and doing hip hop.
That is
So
really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's not as much of that in Searcy as there is in California.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, and last one. What is one thing that you love about the city that you live in?
Oh, so in Searcy, it's the people. That's why people come back to Searcy. That's why you move back here. There's something about the community here where everybody has a central connection point. You know, I would say the majority of the people that live here in Searcy that I'm associated with went to Harding. We have similar experiences. They stayed and or are in ministry teaching at Harding. So you have this really powerful sense of community. I feel like I can pick up the phone and call just about anybody if I fall on hard times, and they'll be there to help and to assist. So overwhelming sense of community here in Searcy. Love it. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Jason, I think we better wrap it up. Man, thank you so much for joining us today. I think you shared a lot of wisdom and insight and have a very unique perspective, I think, that we can all learn from. So, Jason, it was good to meet you, and we'll see you later.
Good to meet you as well, brother.
Yep. Bye.